Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be inside the coverage, a slightly different approach to what EA and I are doing. We've decided to, instead of looking at Ravens preseason coverages from the week 3 matchup in the preseason with the Commanders, which was completely dominant and one-sided, we decided to look at what the Bills historically have done from a coverage standpoint, in order to try to preview that game, the week 1 matchup Sunday night in Buffalo. So with that being said, just one more time, I want to welcome EA here and thank you for being involved with this and helping with the coordination of it and trying to get this thing published every week.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. I'm excited about it. Excited about the season getting started, and looking into these coverages a little more closely.
Not sure that we'll be able to pull this off every week because this is the first game, So there's a lot of data and film here from these matchups dating back to 2019, 2020. These two teams didn't play when Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson were rookies and took over as starters in 2018. But there's been a number of matchups, and unfortunately, the two most important ones from a Ravens standpoint both took place in Buffalo. What we will do here is we'll look at, I think, 6 plays is what we got queued up, and try to talk about the Bills' coverages and what we have seen them do in the past, including focus on 2024, but also talk about the personnel that'll be available for the Ravens on Sunday and the Bills, because both of these teams have significant possibility of players either not being out on the field in the case of Likely and Ricard, and then the Bills' secondary group with Maxwell Harrison on IR and Tre'Davious White fighting through some type of injury. Just before EA loads up his first play, the one of the establishing shots that I want to continue to talk about that I've put out in my content over the past couple of weeks is how the Bills are a too high safety structure team out of a 4-2-5 nickel personnel group. They did alter or change that a little bit early in the playoff game last year, to great effect. They were able to, however, having said that, their game plan was all for naught. We scored on the first possession. So it's not like everything that they prepared and everything they had in worked to perfection, and they got us off the field on the first possession. So what we'll do is we'll alternate plays here in terms of what EA and I try to show or publish. So what's the first play you would like to talk about, EA?
First play is a 3rd down and 8 from the playoff game. This is early. I believe we're in the first series.
First possession, yeah.
First possession, yeah. And if you can see my mouse, you'll see this is Andrews here. They're going to play what Brent Venables calls 4-man. Not altogether sure about that, but what that entails
why they call
is
it that, right?
a backside coverage on 3-by-1. What that entails is this defender right here. I think this is, I'm not sure who this
Rasul
is.
Douglas. Rasul Douglas.
Okay, Douglas. He's going to have him everywhere he goes. I think we've got a sort of a bracket on Andrews here set up. You'll notice that once Mark goes under, the safety's eyes go away from Mark, and he looks to kind of poach right here. He kind of effectively gets in and closes the middle a little bit better because they're working out of a too high shell here. But you can see him kind of work towards the middle of the field, working against or over that 3-by-1 side. Looks like they're playing, in terms of a split field call, some form of cover 2 to the side at the bottom of our screen here. One thing I'll point out is that we're seeing a lot of kind of picks and rubs. And I'm not sure, Coach, how much you see that against other teams, but I saw it a ton versus the Bills. Monken having the receivers run. This is just a mesh underneath, but you can see Likely trying to interfere with this man coverage.
Yeah.
And does look like Lamar is kind of favoring Likely coming across. The other part of this coverage here, this what Venables calls 4-man, is this weak side player here, this linebacker, has to pick up anything crossing from the opposite side. They do a lot of stuff right here. The Bills.
Yeah.
There's not anything open. The other thing I want to point out, and I guess I should have started with this, is that we get a 3-man rush with a spy. And this is how dangerous this team is, the Ravens, with Lamar at quarterback, because they do almost everything right, the Bills. You see them pass off and pick up 80 here, pick up likely coming across. And I don't know if this is Milano. I think it may be.
Yeah.
Set up as a spy. Film's a little wonky here.
Little bit of pressure. He's a more athletic guy compared to Bernard and the other guy who plays like a Sam position.
Right. I think it's the center here that there's a little bit of pressure through the center. Linderbaum here. Let me see if I can pull this ahead. But you'll see that 58 is yeah, 58's Milano. Okay, so that's Ed Oliver on the center there.
Yep.
Yeah, wonky film here.
So they're like Lamar feels that.
Lamar feels that a little bit, and you can see right here, Milano's eyeballing him to no avail. And Lamar just does what he does. The Ravens are just killing the Bills on third down, and not all of it is because Lamar's so evasive and talented. A lot of it we'll see, I think, throughout today's study and look is because, and Coach is going to point this out, Todd Monk and the Ravens offense have a pretty good idea about what coverage to anticipate the Bills playing against certain looks.
Absolutely.
Anything else on this play, Coach?
Well, because it's a 3-by-1, I feel like Monken absolutely knew that he was going to get man on Andrews to the backside, to the what I call the boundary. I agree with you. This is one that I kind of covered. I mistakenly said that it was a 4-man rush, though. It's obvious that it is a 3-man rush with a spy being Milano. You're right. Even still, the numbers, it still adds up to 4. So the premise that I have said for years is you can't play man free against Lamar and only bring 4. And now this is not man free. However, it's man to the top side and Rasul Douglas on Andrews. And sure enough, that's where Lamar escapes. I'm not saying Lamar went there because Lamar knew it was man. That portion of the field just opened up. The idea is, can you run it forward maybe like 3 seconds to the point where Andrews and Rasul Douglas vacate that side of the field? Yeah, somewhere around right there. I know it's kind of wonky there, like you said. Couple of things. Likely's out, so he's not going to be available. But multiple situations in this game, kind of like this one. I think it's 39 that's matched likely. When we talked about it pre-show, we said it was like a will linebacker. Basically, it was the backside guy at the second level. From a base nickel or 4-3 configuration for them, if we can get likely matched up on one of their inside linebackers, I want Lamar to throw it. Like I want Lamar to throw the football. It happened with Bernard, who's a good football player, but I don't think he's a really great guy in coverage. It happened with him twice in this playoff game, whereby he ended up matched up on likely, not necessarily man, but just because all zone becomes man at some point, similar to what you're describing here. Because Rasul Douglas is in man, that player, I think it's 39, is matching likely. He has to, right? Additional to that, when Lamar does escape, if you're in man, backs are turned. Now, the backs are not turned to the left-hand side of our screen because they're in zone over there, but Rasul Douglas has vacated that whole side of the field. I think the Bills' coverage choices over the years have been pretty sound because they're either playing zone on first and second down with all eyes forward. They can react to Lamar and hopefully limit the scramble. Or on third down, they're playing what I call stick split 0, bring in 6, maybe even sometimes 7, which forces him to get the ball out of his hands immediately and eliminates any chance of a scramble. And I think conceptually, schematically maybe, that's a sound decision from a Bills perspective. Removing Lamar's ability to scramble, of course, he's still got it done on this play.
Yeah. That's going to be the key, as I see it, for the Bills, is this idea of sticks and twists and bringing in extra guys, getting the ball out of Lamar's hand quickly. I don't think there's a lot to be said about confusing him.
Agreed. He's
but getting after him, that's what they're going to pin their hopes on ultimately.
Yep. All right, so we'll switch views briefly here, and I'll talk about what we have seen from a base look, and I've covered this in a couple of videos. This is old film. I'm actually not going to show this play. There used to be a 4-3 structure team with 2 high safeties, and one of which is Poyer. You can see him here. This is older film. This is a lead run concept for Ingram, not really consequential to what we're talking about. But what is consequential is one of the theories or ideas that I have is the Bills will play a different style of defense once we get to the 40, the 38, maybe the 35. In this case, it's the plus 32. This is 2019 film that I'm using to kind of make this point. And I think this leads into really the first play call of the game, the first play call that Todd Monken ever called against McDermott's defense in a Ravens from a Ravens standpoint, being employed by the Ravens. So this is a 6-1, but it's from your same 4-3 personnel. Basically, the Bills conceptually, or their idea is, we want to force the Ravens to execute between the 30s, the -20 to the +40, +38. And if you think back to many of the games that we've played against them, turnovers have been a problem, number one. But where did those turnovers occur? Oftentimes they occurred between the +45 and the +30, in that range where the Bills started to actually bring pressure. This is the what I would say is an iconic juke of Milano, who's a spectacular football player. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but this happened. It's on film where Lamar juked him. We've all seen the highlight. The Bills are in absolutely the right look there, and he's still able to get it done. Yeah. But let me just lead into what I'm talking about. Monken's first play call against them. What's he got? He's got a nickel response. Taron Johnson wasn't playing that game, and a too high safety structure. Where does the run call go? Into the boundary, away from the nickel. And of course, we all know how this worked out, right? It ends up being a 87-yard touchdown run for Henry. The Bills, gave Monken exactly what he was looking for. We're talking about this boundary side safety who initially was at depth. Maybe he's more shallow than the field side safety, but that's not uncommon for the boundary side safety to be a couple of yards closer. And since we got the exact look that Monken planned for all week, then Andrews is taking out that guy in terms of a blocking standpoint, and Henry is gone. So my contention is that Monken, kind of piggybacking off what you said earlier, Monken has done a great job planning against this defense. We had 447 yards in the first matchup, and I think 422 in the second matchup, something like that. We're talking about 840 yards of offense in 2 games, and 45 first downs, 25 in the first game and 20 in the second one. Maybe it was 47 first downs. But the point is, we're going to get things done offensively because Monken understands them. Final point here, before we'll talk about personnel and some of the injuries. The Bills, are in their 4-3 structure here. If we had Ricard and Likely for this game, for this matchup, I love the 22 personnel group against this Bills defense, because it might keep Taron Johnson off the field. And I don't just think he's one of their best 11 players on defense. I think he's probably one of their best 5 or 6. For those of you listening who may not recall, Taron Johnson's the guy who had the pick 6 in the 2020 playoff game. Took it for 102 or 104 yards, something like that. He plays nickel for them. So when we go 22 personnel, usually he's off the field, and they respond with their 4-3 structure. This happens to be a play that I think kind of illustrates that. If Taron Johnson were here, he might be able to get to Justice Hill on this kind of like a dash concept, I think is what some people call it. The idea is that we're faking jet sweep, a fast sweep, down into the boundary. With Zay Flowers, it could be QB power read, and that's the whole reason why Daniel Falele is pulling. The right guard would pull. You might hand it off to Flowers on the fast sweep, or Lamar might keep it, QB power read, right? It's not. We're attacking them to the field because, in my opinion, they don't have the nickel defender on the field. This kind of leads into something you texted me about, that you said that, you don't think this team really defends the flats very well at all.
Yeah, I don't. I saw that all year when I watched the Bills in both games that we played them, but I saw that against other opponents as well. I'm not sure how to put my finger on why that is. You notice there that's Kolar upfield.
Yep.
Okay, so Kolar's route's interesting here too.
Yep. Holding that corner. Yep.
He just kind of freezes the corner or the safety right there. 3.
He's running it between them. Yeah, absolutely.
You can see he basically shields with that route the flat. Right? He's not going to come over and grab Justice.
Exactly.
Right.
They're a too high safety structure team that I would say in previous years has majored in, quarters, split field coverage, whatever people want to call it. There's different names, but they're not a too high safety structure team where the corner is jamming and then settling in the flats. That's not their structure historically. I don't think their teaching is going to change. What I love about this play the most is it creates horizontal conflict, right? You got the possibility of the sweep here and then Justice coming back in the other direction. And then clearly we also have a third possibility, right? Lamar could keep this on his own out to the edge. So the horizontal conflict, threat of the play to one side, the sweep to Zay Flowers, and then the actual keep and the little dump off to Justice Hill. Interesting fact here from this regular season game. Early in the game, when Monken attacked to the field, it was with speed. It was Zay Flowers on a screen, Justice Hill on this little concept. Even when we got down inside the red zone, remember, it was a big screen to Justice Hill to the field. So all of the guys who have speed on our team are the players that Todd Monken utilized to attack the flats, the exact area that you texted me about, a couple of days ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think Monken's got a great idea on how to attack this defense.
Lamar has, depending on what that edge guy does, Lamar could keep the football there too.
Yep, if he were to chase, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. We've both said it back and forth. I know I've said it in my videos. You probably have. I think Monken's got a great idea of how to attack this defense as it's been presented in 2024 and previously. How much are they going to change? I will tell you, personally, I don't think much. They did have a great draft defensively, in my opinion.
How much of that has to do with all that new personnel, right? Because I tend to agree with you. I don't think that we're going to see a ton – although they should come out differently, I don't think we're going to see a ton of variety just because they have so much youth. They're trying to work in.
It was a great draft from a defensive standpoint for them. I love the TJ Sanders, the defensive tackle, that pick. Maxwell Hairston, probably the best zone corner in the draft. Mm-hmm. I really like Landon Jackson as a defensive end, big body. I know there's some consistency issues, but in my opinion, is a really good talent. Nonetheless, they do have players that are out that I think is going to influence their ability to play coverages that threaten us. And what I mean is, Tre'Davious White, we had him in Baltimore last year. Apparently, he's going to be starting for them, and he's been dealing with an injury in camp. I don't think he is a high-volume man corner between the 30s. Mm-hmm. If you recall, our usage with him last year was generally in the red zone. That was where we saw high-level play against George Pickens. Of course, he got called for the DPI against the Bills last year that I thought was pretty ridiculous in the playoff game.
I think
Go ahead, Coach. Sorry.
I think there's some questions, too, about their safeties in this game. Cole Bishop's a nice player coming out of college, but I don't think he's got a lot of run. And they're starting him at free this year. I don't think he started last year. And Rapp, as I watch him, and I haven't watched him a lot, but he's susceptible to being out of position based on eye candy that the Ravens threw at him. So I think they have issues at corner in terms of depth, especially if Trey White's banged up. And I think there's questions at safety too.
It's always been interesting to me since they've gone to this nickel structure that there's times where they take Taron Johnson off the field. I'm not saying they're wrong, but if we were to rank their players, I would say Taron Johnson's a better player than both of the other safeties you just mentioned, Bishop and Rapp. Yeah. And so it makes me wonder, why aren't we taking one of those guys off the field and just operating out of a one-high safety structure? Well, that's not their system. That's not what their defensive coaches are comfortable utilizing, in my opinion. That gives you the answer to what they want to do from a foundational standpoint. They want to operate out of a too-high safety structure, and that's the reason why when we go 22 personnel, they take Taron Johnson off the field and they operate out of a 4-3. All right, so did you have a second play you wanted to load up from the, I think, second quarter, you said?
This is 3rd and 9, second quarter. Oh, I got to share it. Just one sec.
No worries.
Let's see.
I do like the fact that we're using two different players here. I'm a huge fan of quick cut, though, because you can just draw on the screen however you wish. But yours is smoother. I think yours is smoother when you're presenting these plays right now, and in terms of the way the play moves from frame to frame.
You get that same stretch here, right, with pulling the defense, and there's 39 in man again over the back. The other thing is there's I think some struggles where the Bills will play man coverage on a tight bunch and not switch, not play any kind of traffic call or banjo call, like first in, first out. I don't see them doing that. And you can see this, if you can see my mouse, this safety or this defender, he can't get over what Mark's laying down here. And here again, you get a rub, a very intentional,
obviously,
whatever you want to call that, interference. I don't mean a penalty, but he's interfering with that, the ability of that defender to get across. And again, we see Monken having a very good idea of what to expect.
Yep.
So he's getting man on Mark. You can see Mark's getting beat up all game. Very, very physical game between where Mark is concerned. They're just getting.
I think that's Taron Johnson on him, by the way.
Yeah, he was on him a lot. Very physical between the two of them. And so this is, in a way, a very daring call. You know, it's 3rd and 9, and you're running a shallow, you know, and hoping to pick it up. You also get a mugged up front before the ball is snapped, and you get a spy again.
Yeah, the guy in the middle, the guy whose feet are on the 45. Yeah.
Right here. This guy's set up to spy Lamar on 3rd down again. So I think they have a good understanding of a lot of the things they're going to see. And Lamar just gets rid of the ball quickly. You can see, again, there's pressure here. That's 40.
Yeah.
But a big part of this is knowing he's got man, seeing the coverage pre-snap, and I think probably an understanding that they don't typically banjo these kinds of routes, which is to say, typically the safety or the corner, will take the first out.
Right.
And then the inside backer or the safety will get somebody in.
That's right.
One of these guys would be running with this route.
They don't major in it. They don't major in it. I don't even know that they minor in it, to use that analogy again. They major in too high zone structure, zone coverages, and some match stuff. I don't see them with their personnel. Maxwell Hairston, like I said, was a great zone corner in college. I thought his 2023 film, I think he had 5 interceptions, 3 of which were pick sixes, was fantastic in zone. I thought it was the best college tape that particular season for him. But from a man perspective, I'm not saying he's terrible in man. It's just not his relative strength. They drafted him. You know, they didn't draft a press man corner. They didn't draft, you know, some of the other bigger body corners that are going to play man into the boundary. They drafted a smaller guy who's great in zone coverage and has lightning quick reflexes and great ball skills. So I think he fits their system. They're telling us, in my opinion, what they value. They drafted D tackles, they drafted a D end, and they drafted a great zone corner. I'm a big fan of their draft. I'm not a fan of the Buffalo Bills, but nonetheless, I respect that they had a great draft and they built depth on the defensive side.
Yeah. The idea too is you see this constantly, or at least I did watching the Bills, just these ideas of interference routes, let's call them, very clear all the time. Even on the interception, you see it there too underneath. Now, Lamar actually on that play makes a good read because you do see Bateman clear his man. He's open, you know, and just that they don't connect. But opposite that, you do see a rub or pick or however you want to call that. We look at it from this angle, see what happens up front.
It's 12 personnel likely's on the field. So that's going to be interesting on these 3rd downs. You would presume that at times we're going to be in 11 here, right? This week.
Yep. You see these two running fast to the flat, just clearing space. That with what's going on with Mark Andrews here, clearing space underneath. Good ball.
I don't know what Linderbaum's doing. Why Linderbaum is I guess he's just manned up on the
spy,
linebacker. He's spying the spy, yeah.
Yep. In case Lamar takes off. Yeah.
This was a big moment. 2nd quarter, right?
Yeah, quarter 2. Yep.
Anthony Miller. I do wonder, and many people have pointed it out, if the Bills' coverage choices are going to be different when we have Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and DeAndre Hopkins on the field, along with Mark Andrews. Literally, do they have 4 cover guys to match up with all them? I don't know that they do consistently.
You think that lends itself to more of the same in terms of zone coverages?
I'm just wondering, speculating if either that or their stick split zero, the stuff that they have done, in the past to really just, hey, let's get the ball out of Lamar's hands and let's get the ball out of his hands right now. I think I have one of those possibly to load up, but it's older film.
We're just eating them up on third down through both of these, for the most part, through both of these games.
Yeah. I think it's the answers are different depending on the quarterback you're facing, right? And so like Lamar and Josh Allen are great at scrambling. And so sometimes the answer, this is old film, this is 2019, but this could be the Bengals in 2021. Obviously everyone knows the big one. This could be the Dolphins in 2021, that Thursday night game down there where they played stick split zero like 30 times or something. The Bills actually tried to run it last year against us some. The idea is like, it doesn't have to do anything with Lamar. I've said this for years. It's not anything that Lamar can't do. What it is what certain players on the Bills can't do, which is tackle Lamar in a normal situation with a 4-man rush. This is related to the first play that you showed. Their choice here, at least, was let's bring 6. Let's outnumber them when they go empty. And if we had a running back in there, to create a 6th potential blocker, they could bring 7. It's just trying to have one more potential rusher than we have as a blocker. It wasn't really necessarily the next play that I wanted to load up, but just something to think about in terms of their coverage choices. They're either going to be, if you ask me, generally over here on the conservative side, too high safety structure zone, or way on the other end of the spectrum, which this sticks looks aggressive, and I get it that it actually is, but from the standpoint of how they're dealing with Lamar, they're just basically ceding ground, saying, we're not going to try to tackle him in a normal situation. We just want to force him to get rid of the ball. In the old days, we didn't have nearly as many playmakers out here. Now we've got Bateman, Flowers, Hopkins, Andrews in a normal situation, likely as well as Keaton Mitchell and Justice Hill. So I think we're in a much better situation personnel-wise, but I still think at times people are going to give us that look because they want to force Lamar to get rid of the ball because they know what he can do. He's 100% or 98% on scrambles, when you are playing man structure, typical man structure.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me move forward here. Sorry for that. I want to talk about this play, and I think it kind of lends itself to what we were discussing earlier, how we think Monken's got a great idea of how to attack this defense. Now, the Bills are in their nickel structure, okay? So that's Taron Johnson, and then they do have 2 safeties here and here. And so what has Monken done? He's put 3 into the boundary. So we're talking about Andrews, Bateman, and Derrick Henry. I actually feel like these guys do a nice job initially. 43 and Milano, the will, initially. As soon as the running back releases to the boundary, 43 just gives him a push call, tells Milano push. So basically he's telling Milano, you can push and take this route, which will be Henry in the flats. Corner Rasul Douglas will match up on the snag, and then the safety could match up on, what really is basically a smash route. The problem here is that it's only a 4-man rush. So if you don't get to Lamar with a 4-man rush and he can move around, it's just it's a bad day for your defense, or a bad play, because here he kind of moves around a little bit. I'll give you the end zone angle. I think this is first possession, the touchdown to Bateman, but I might be wrong. The point is to balance out the coverage, what they want to play with the rush. The previous play that I showed you from 2019, they're bringing 6. In some cases, they're bringing 7. Here, they're only bringing 4. It can actually just be that simple, especially dealing with this version of Lamar Jackson. Totally different from the 2019 version. I think kind of almost warrants even, almost justifies even more bringing heavy pressure to force him to get rid of the ball. The problem is we've got playmakers. A simple screen, hitch, or drag to Zay Flowers or Rashad Bateman we could take to the house. So I know you feel the same way. I think that the Bills have some difficulty matching up with us from a personnel standpoint.
I do, and I was noticing uh, from the other angle. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't appear that the safety, field side safety, has a great feel in zone coverage. I mean, feel for the routes, in other words. I mean, his eyes are to the quarterback, but he really doesn't have eyes anywhere else. And ultimately that's a difficult thing as he's a half field player to get over and grab the post. But he doesn't seem like he has an idea about it.
You're talking about the possibility of him becoming a factor. And yeah, absolutely. That's Hamlin, a good player, a wonderful story that he's been able to come back and hopefully make a ton of money, for his family over the course of his career. But from a coverage standpoint, that's a guy that when they put him on Henry on when they put him on Andrews the first snap of the game in the playoff game, I like our chances. From a coverage standpoint, I don't think he's a top of the line coverage player. They got, Bishop and Rapp. All three of those guys, if you ask me, are not going to be tasked with covering Andrews in man situations simply because the Bills know that's not a good setup for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think either one of us are saying we're just going to walk in there and blow them out. But from a matchup standpoint, they're not operating from a position of strength, if you ask me, unless their pass rush can absolutely overwhelm us with four guys.
Yeah, that's the key. But I don't think apart from that, and save any kind of errors on the part of the Ravens, I don't think they match up. I don't think we'll have trouble moving the ball ultimately and scoring. We'll see. Could be wrong on that.
Turnovers obviously a key, and then bad snaps once we get past the 50. It's crazy to go back and watch these games. I think there was a low snap in 2019, the game that we won 24-17. I know there was a low snap in the 2020 playoff game, the loss up there 17-3, and then of course we had the one last year that Lamar corrals and then fumbles on the blitz by Damar Hamlin. So some somewhat irregular stuff has happened between these two teams. You have to give them credit. They have an active defense that's very hostile, and they play in a physical manner. I love the second half of the playoff game, even though we lost, the way that we ran the ball downhill at them. They really struggled to match up with that level of physicality.
I think you'll see a lot of, with you talking about these zero blitzes on third down in particular, I do think you're going to see them continue to do that and make a point of beating up Mark Andrews, because Mark's the guy. Mark's the guy that he's going to look to generally, and they know that, with number 7, with Taron Johnson.
Yeah. Sometimes I look at teams and I think, okay, would that player start for us? I think Milan, obviously at will linebacker, Milano starts for us this year's team, no doubt. But and Taron Johnson, how would he fit into this ridiculous secondary that we have? You can argue with me if you want, but he either starts for us or he plays a lot, one or the other. He's a very talented football player. Some of the other guys they're playing, their safeties, 43. I don't know that they do start for us, to be honest with you. The guys that will be covering our tight ends / running backs. Did you want to go over a couple more, one or two more of the trips coverages that they played and how we were able to attack them?
Let's see. Yeah, I've got a play from the regular season.
The Aguilar
matchup.
catch.
Yep. Let's see. Let me know when you can see this, Coach. Should be.
That's the one thing I think that's been a little bit undercovered this offseason is the fact that we've taken Aguilar away from this roster, and we've added DeAndre Hopkins, and there hasn't been yet, I guess, nor should there be much discussion of that. I think that's going to be something that possibly blows up, very similar to the way that the discussion and evaluation of Henry after 1 week and then 2 weeks last year. We're 0-2. We didn't have a dominant run game. All of a sudden, Derrick Henry is on a 2,000-yard pace, and he got close to it. Am I saying I think Hopkins is going to have 100 catches and 15 touchdowns? No. But there's no reason that Hopkins can't come in and give us, 60, 65 catches, high efficiency. and 6 or 8 touchdowns. But the point is, I think in a week like this, where we're missing Likely and possibly missing Ricard, they practiced today. I've got no idea what is going to shake out there. Hopkins can get increased opportunities. To have that depth built in is a huge asset.
Yeah. It's going to be fun, Coach. Sunday night's going to be fun. No question.
Late night.
So this is another, to me, another indication that Monken knows what to expect. It's another 3rd down conversion, 3rd and 11, 3-by-1. And you get the coverage I want to talk about just for a second. You get some action here at the line, drops. This is a 3 sky coverage or 6 sky. I'll just call it 3 sky week. Saban calls it 6 sky. 3 sky week, meaning.
Tell them what it means, which player that it refers to.
Yeah. Okay. So if you can see the mouse, we're talking about this guy rotating. They're showing a too high look pre-snap. We're talking about post-snap. This defender, if you can see, rotating down to play curl flat in this coverage. We'll call that 3 sky weak. So he's responsible for underneath to this side. I think, again, really good horizontal stretch here with Likely out wide, trying to open up the middle of the field. We talked about the drop of 39 here. You can see
he's a safety, but he's walked up, right?
Right. 39, his eyes immediately go to this side weak. And I think that causes him just to get wide out of this hook, wider than I think you'd like.
Absolutely.
And this is just killing what Lamar does here. We'll show it at full speed, but he just fires this ball between those two hook defenders. And Aguilar does a great job. You can see it better from the other angle. A great job kind of cutting between them two, coming back to the football through that little window.
Tough catch.
Yeah. I don't know if this is the best angle to show it, but just watch Lamar get this thing out. Bam.
You got the end zone angle or no?
Yep. I'll play it. I'll pull it along kind of slowly just to see. I don't know if this shows. Just to see Aguilar come get it.
I actually really like that media player that you got there. I tried to download it for Windows and couldn't get it to work.
So there he is. So Aguilar's right in that little window. See him come forward toward it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll watch it at full clip from here just to watch Lamar get rid of the thing.
4-man rush.
Yep. And this, again, is a 3rd down conversion. We were talking earlier about Lamar just kind of rising an extra level, or seems to, in these moments. I don't know if you want to call him clutch, but when it's on the line on 3rd down, he almost refuses to die. Doesn't like coming off the field. I love that delivery there. Just wow.
Oh, he's getting everything into that. You can see the hips and the quads. Everything is into that throw.
So they get like they take advantage of this just kind of wide drop here and convert on 3rd down.
Yeah, we were very selfish with our boundary side inside linebacker to away from trips, to the one receiver side, like you talked about over there. We were not going to push him to that one receiver side unless we had to.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, we were normally, I guess you could say, pre-skied. We were normally, our safety was already walked down. Because we would always stick our best corner into the boundary and say, okay, well, if that's where you want to go over there, go right ahead. But that's usually our guy that gets 6-8 interceptions a year. NFL level is obviously different, right? The rule set favors the receivers and the quarterback. But I like that play because I think it really illustrates that sometimes teams are going to be in a too high look, pre-snap, but then post-snap is going to look different, whether it's a buzz or sky, like you called it, to use old school terminology, which is what I generally refer to as sky. But the point is that the Bills are going to, I think, present that too high safety structure as much as possible, and that really leads into the last point that I want to make about the Bills' coverages and what they gave us. So we're going to look at two plays here, kind of briefly, but just to give you an idea of pre-snap what you've got. This is third possession, okay? So you notice that they're in a too high safety structure, but they've got the corner Rasul Douglas rolled up. Why? Well, it's two tight ends here, right? We're in 22 personnel. So that's number one. Number two, we've also got their 4-3 personnel on the field, which is what I think we should be trying to do as much as possible. Essentially, you've got 22 personnel, I backfield, and they're in their 4-3 structure, too high look. Let's pull this back to number 12, which is the first play of the game that's, so many people talked about. The Bills play different coverages against us. This is first play of the game, and you do have a 4-3 structure. So this is your 4 down linemen, 2 inside backers, and then here's the Sam, 42, right? So he's rolled up. So they're just in a different call, but out of the 4-3, this is just the underfront with the strong safety rolled up to the tight end side. There's nothing revolutionary. Like, this is in the 4-3 playbook in 1974. This has been around forever. But it is a one high safety look, right? Early in the game. We turned the ball over twice in the half. And, I think by the third possession, fourth possession, fifth, sixth, seventh, they were right back into their base looks. This is man from the standpoint of how they're lined up. Right, with Hamlin, man on Andrews. Again, we're talking about the first play of the game. We don't do a great job blocking things at all up front early in this game. And so they're able to get to the football with the backside DN. We're talking about this guy here, 50 against Rosengarten. He's head up. That's a good football player, Rousseau, in my opinion. We can't cut him off because he's head up. So if he was outside shade, if he was in a 5, then it'd be a whole lot easier for us to dig him out of here. Basically a gut block on the backside. We can't get that done because of his alignment. Well, why is he tight? Because they took the Sam linebacker and walked him up. He is literally 9 technique. It's all related, right? It's just trickle down or trickle up, trickle sideways, whatever you want to call it. So the point is that I've tried to make in my videos, and I think we've really hammered it home here, is that because of personnel and because of preferences in scheme, this is what they would rather do. 2 high safety structures, but you still create an 8-man front here, 4 down linemen, 3 inside backers, one of which is 42, the same exact guy. He's getting ready to walk up. Why? Because Kolar walked over. So he's basically just being a Sam linebacker in the 4-3, trying to create possibly an underfront to that side. And then the corner is the 8th guy in that 8-man front. Because he's walked up, it's a tight end nobody side. So you don't need to be in a 1 high safety structure to create an 8-man run fit. You can do that from a 2 high safety structure, depending on the formation. We just gashed them here in this third possession, and that's the point that I'm trying to make to as many people as possible, talking about the progression of how things went. By the third, fourth, fifth possession, they were right back into the things that they're comfortable doing from an alignment standpoint and given their personnel, and we're putting it on them. And we know what happened in the second half, right? Our run game really got going with Henry. Not necessarily talking about these plays from a technique standpoint. I'm just showing you guys as best I can that they're in a 2 high safety structure as much as possible. Even Rapp, who's rolled up here, certainly making it look like a 1 high structure, he's not reading anything. If you can see him, the ball is snapped and he's turning and going. He's not seeing anything. An NFL player, if you're reading this, immediately you're reading run. He's not reading that at all. If we pull it back to the all-22, this is Rapp. So what are we going to get in this game? I think we're going to get possibly some early anomalous calls that the Bills try to stop the run with, and then they'll settle in if things go their way. I think they'll settle into their base calls, whatever's in their playbook typically, and whatever they've installed, which I believe is a 2 high safety structure, zone coverages to protect their personnel, which is not man-based.
Well said. I think there's almost a perfunctory nature to what we see out of Rapp there. Like you said, he's not reading; he's just playing the coverage, or playing the call.
Yes. And does it mean that we're just going to walk in there and score 35 points again? No, right? We're going to need to not turn the football over and protect the football. Which the unfortunate thing about the playoff game is we did a great job protecting the football all year. We had a weird interception against the Raiders. I think a ball that kind of hits Bateman in the hands.
Yeah.
And then I think it's Spillane maybe takes it from him. Maybe it's not Spillane. A couple of other, unusual situations. And then to have three, the reality is, and first of all, no Bills fans are listening this long, but if we only have 2 turnovers in the playoff game and not 3, we're going to Kansas City the next week.
Yeah.
If we're -2 turnover margin, we're still winning that game.
Yeah. And going back to watch this game in particular, the postseason game, it just was a continue to shake your head or scratch your head or whatever, because I don't think the better team won that game. I mean, the team that played better won the game, but hopefully the team, the more talented team, which I'm convinced is the Ravens, comes out on top Sunday night.
Yeah, we're both, I think, in agreement that we can't prove it because we got no access to the materials or the. People talk about a play call sheet, but the play call sheet is the output. The play call sheet is the output of hours and hours of work.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably, I know from my experience, was a 60-foot whiteboard of work that a coach or coaches had done offensively. Not me, I didn't get involved with the offense stuff at all, but that had been done and then condensed down to some document, 3-4 pages, and then whittled down into a play call sheet that was accessible. All of that work that Monken does, I think, shows up in both of these games against the Bills, meaning it was effective. Not just the 840 yards, 45 first downs, but when we got things going, when things leveled out in the second half, we were downhill on them. It was like, we used to talk about, we want to play like we're playing downhill at a 7-degree decline, and the defense has to play uphill at a 7-degree decline. That's a little bit severe or steep. But if you ever played on crappy fields, sometimes there is an incline or a decline, depending on which direction you're going. I don't know that we'll be able to play in a 7-degree decline this week against the Bills in week 1, but I think Monken shows up probably with a good plan to get us at a +3 or +5, whatever way you want to refer to it.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we're real fortunate about him. He's going to use the word plan. He's got a plan. There's no question.
And we seem like there is a point in the time in the game when he's generally able to make play calls that, okay, I've received my data, how you've lined up, how you've played us early on. And now I know which path to go on, the path of least resistance, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
He seems to be a guy who hits a gear sometimes in the third, fourth quarter that other teams, the other defensive coordinators is, again, fighting uphill. So I don't know that it's going to be easy at all here, but if we don't turn the football over and we play a good brand of defense, I think we got a great shot.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I know this one was different for you guys on the back end and certainly went on a little longer. I want to apologize to EA for the way that the setup was this morning, trying to get this thing going with new graphics and a couple of new things going on behind the scenes here, trying to get things acclimated. I really enjoyed this, though. I don't know about you, looking at the other team's coverages as opposed to ours.
Love it. Yep.
Chances that we could do this again with 1 week of prep time, what would you give those chances?
Oh, it'd be tough. We have to wing it a little bit, Coach.
I'd say less than 30%, but it was fun nonetheless. And maybe in a special situation in the playoffs or Super Bowl, we can do it again.
Yeah, we'll like you said, with a special matchup, I think we'll probably have to make it happen.
All right, man. Well, thank you for joining me in on this, EA. As always, generally, we're going to do the other team's coverage, as you guys know. So we'll return to that once the film comes out of the Ravens matchup against the Bills. We'll be able to talk about the things that Zach Orr did on the defensive side. This switch up was fun for me, nonetheless. Any final thoughts before we close?
Nope, just ready. I'm ready to watch this stuff and do my best to see what they're doing. Really,
I'm going to drink some afternoon coffee to make sure I can stay up late enough.
Oh, that's going to be a long one, right? What do we have? Yeah. We have a Sunday night matchup, and then there's a Monday night matchup, week 3, I think, right? Yeah. Is that right? Yeah.
The Lions. Yep.
Yeah. Good stuff.
All right, man. Well, thank you guys for your time. If you all enjoyed the video, as always, please let us know in the comment section. Liking The video is great, but if anytime you comment on a video, it really helps the content get pushed out to a larger audience. You can see it in the analytics on YouTube. So if you enjoy this type of film study look, please let us know in the comments section what your thoughts are based on the Bills-Ravens matchup in Week 1. Appreciate you guys' time.